A small metal top spins on a polished table. Around it, the world is quiet. The laughter of children outside, the distant hum of a plane, the low rustle of leaves through an open window. But over that quiet, there is another sound. A thin, metallic whisper as the top turns and turns and turns. It should wobble. It should slow. It should fall. Instead, it hangs there on the edge of physics, as if gravity itself is waiting for an answer. A man watches it. A husband. A thief. A dreamer who has spent so long buried in fabricated worlds that the simple act of something falling over has become a question of life and death. And somewhere behind that spinning toy lies the real question. Is this a glitch in the rules of the movie? Or the last desperate test of a mind that no longer believes in reality at all? In the universe of Inception, reality is not just a place. It is a discipline. Dreams can mimic streets, cities, and entire lifetimes. They can bury people so deep that decades feel like days, and the line between what is real and what is constructed becomes blurred to the point of madness. To survive in that environment, professional dream thieves rely on one fragile concept: the totem. A totem, the film tells us, is a personal object with a secret property known only to its owner. A loaded die that always lands on one number. A chess piece that is secretly hollow and has a specific weight. A spin top whose behavior is familiar in the waking world, but different in the dream. The official rule is simple. If someone tries to incept you inside a dream of their making, they cannot perfectly reproduce the way your totem feels, falls, or spins. Reality is the one place where that behavior is guaranteed to be correct. But this is where the story of one particular totem that becomes complicated. Because the most famous object in Inception, the tiny spinning top that closes the film, does not behave like a normal totem. The film strongly suggests that in reality, the top eventually falls. And in a dream, it spins forever. That sounds like a clean, dramatic rule. And yet, the rest of the movie keeps telling us that this isn't how totems work. To understand the contradiction and why it matters, we have to step into the architecture of dreams, the psyche of Dominic Cobb, and the dangerous evolution of a tool that was never meant to be a universal test of reality. Early in the film, the rules are laid out with almost clinical precision. One extractor explains that a totem is a custom object with a unique physical characteristic. His own is a loaded die, rigged in a very specific way. In the real world, when he rolls it, it behaves in a manner only he knows. It tends to land on a particular face, with a particular wobble, a particular rhythm. If he finds himself in someone else's dream and rolls that same die, the architect constructing the world cannot possibly know the exact balance and weight of that specific object. The die will behave like a normal one, random, unweighted, ordinary. The abnormality in that case belongs to reality. The dream imitates what should happen. Reality is where the physics get weird. Other totems follow the same logic. A hollow chess piece with a hidden weight. A small object whose center of mass is just slightly off. A piece of metal with a texture carved on the inside, never visible, only felt. The whole point is intimacy. Only the owner knows the quirk, so only the owner can use it as a test. The film even shows us an accidental totem, a carpet. In one early sequence, a wealthy target realizes he is inside a dream, not because of some grand spectacle, but because the texture of the carpet under his fingers is wrong. The weave, the feel, the way the fibers respond to touch. He knows this rug in reality and in the dream. That knowledge becomes his alarm system. For him, the carpet is a perfect totem, not because it was designed that way, but because he alone knows how it is supposed to be. And over all of this hangs a crucial warning: never let someone else handle your totem. If another person discovers how it's weighted, how it falls, how it spins, they can design a dream that reproduces that behavior perfectly. The totem doesn't stop working physically, but it stops being reliable as a test. Under these rules, Mal's spinning top should be just another subtle instrument. It should fall in a way only she understands. Its secret should be in the details of the wobble, the timing, the feel. But that is not how the movie frames it. We are told something far more dramatic. In a dream, it would never topple, just spin and spin. On paper, that contradicts the carefully established idea that dreams follow normal physics, unless the dreamer, or an intruder, forces them to do otherwise. So what happened? Did the story break its own rules? Or did one couple living for decades in limbo manage to hack the system in a way no one else ever dared? To understand the top, you have to understand Mal. Cobb and his wife spend what feels like a lifetime together in limbo, an unstructured dream space where time stretches, and reality is malleable at the level of continents and skyscrapers. They build cities, age together, and risk forgetting that the world above them still exists. In that endless twilight, a totem is not just a tool, it is a lifeline. At some point, Mal and Cobb alter their constructed world so that the top behaves in a very specific way. In this dream reality, when Mal spins the top, it never falls. It becomes a constant, an immortal line of motion in a universe of shifting architecture. As long as it spins forever, she knows she is still inside the dream. Ironically, that forever spin is supposed to be the warning that this is not reality. Later, Cobb confesses that he implants a single invasive idea into Mal's mind, that their world is not real. He uses the top as the delivery vehicle. He places it in her mental safe, spins it, lets it defy gravity. When she wakes in the real world, that idea refuses to leave. If the top can spin forever there, then that must be the dream. From Mal's perspective, the behavior of the top has reversed. The thing that once told her she was dreaming now convinces her that waking life is another layer of illusion. The totem, weaponized by Limbo and by Inception, destroys her ability to trust reality at all. This is where the supposed contradiction of the film's rules begins to make sense. The top's behavior stops being a simple physical quirk and becomes a layered psychological code. In standard dream sharing, the architect builds a world. Physics follow expectation. Unless someone consciously alters them, a spinning object will slow and fall because that's what every mind in the scene expects. A totem's tell is subtle. A slightly abnormal fall, a specific weight, a secret texture. The details. But in Limbo, things are different. There is no supervising architect with a neat, controlled design. The world is shaped directly by the dreamer's raw psyche, and Cobb and Mal live there for decades. They alter the environment deliberately. They build in rules. They enforce them over a lifetime. In that context, a top that literally spins forever is not a random quirk of dream physics. It's a law they have written. By the time we hear Cobb's line about the top never toppling in a dream, he is speaking with the weight of those decades. He may even be speaking with a touch of hyperbole, the way traumatized people compress memories into symbols. It spun forever, meaning long enough for them to lose themselves. Several interpretations emerge from this. One possibility is that the top began as a normal totem. In reality, it had a unique fall pattern that only Mal knew. In standard dreams, the architect couldn't reproduce that pattern, so its behavior would give her away. In Limbo, however, they overclocked the rule. They built a world where, by their shared mental expectation, the top would not fall at all. The forever spin is a rare extreme case, not a general rule for every dream. Another explanation focuses on how dreams simulate physics. In real life, a spinning top slows down, starts to wobble, precesses, then falls, a complex sequence of micro-movements. In dreams, physics often follow emotional expectation rather than strict mathematics. Many lucid dreamers report that complex transitions, like the exact moment something collapses, are vague or inconsistent. The top's endless spin can be seen as a shortcut. The dream fills in spinning top as a stable state and never bothers to calculate the difficult part where it falls, unless someone's mind insists on it. And that brings us to Cobb's behavior. We often see him staring at the top, almost willing it to reveal the truth. It's not just a passive test. His obsession actively shapes it. In the dream layers we see on screen, his mind is one of the dominant presences. The architect is never the only consciousness in play. An intruder, a skilled dreamer, especially one as desperate as Cobb, can distort details, reinforce expectations, and create small pockets of customized reality within the shared dream space. So when the top spins and seems to defy gravity, it might be doing so not because the movie forgot its own rules, but because Cobb's traumatized mind refuses to let it topple until he is ready to accept what that fall would mean. Then comes the end. The top spins on the table near his children. It wobbles, almost imperceptibly, dancing on the edge between stability and collapse. The camera cuts to the children, to Cobb's face, to the sunlight in the yard, and then back to the top, still spinning as the screen fades to black. From a mechanical perspective, the question remains, should this object spin forever in a dream and fall in reality? Or has it become something else entirely? A symbol for a man who has stopped caring which side of the line he's standing on. The top may be the most iconic object in Inception, but many close viewers argue that it is not, and never was, Cobb's true totem. The film never explicitly reveals what his actual totem is. That silence has opened the door to several competing interpretations that all orbit the same core idea. The thing Cobb really uses to tell dream from reality is far more personal than a spinning toy. One popular reading focuses on the wedding ring. If you watch closely, Cobb wears his ring in dream sequences, but not in scenes that appear to be reality. On the train before a mission, on the multiple dream levels of the main heist, in moments clearly framed as dreams, there, the ring is visible. In the opening and closing scenes, when he washes up on a beach or walks through the airport and into his father-in-law's home, the ring is gone. Under that interpretation, the ring is his true totem. Simple, binary, brutally effective. Ring on, he's dreaming. Ring off, he's awake. No spinning tops. No fragile physics. Just a piece of metal tied to his identity as a husband. Critics of this theory point out that a ring seems too simple. Anyone could reproduce it. Anyone could slide a similar ring on his finger in a dream. But that assumes the ring's only function is visual. In reality, it could have a hidden texture on the inside, a specific weight, a minuscule imperfection only he can feel with his thumb. Or it could have a deeper purpose, not to fool the architect, but to force him to think about Mal. Because another powerful idea emerges from the film's emotional logic. Mal herself functions as a living totem. She appears only in dreams. When she appears, it is violently, intrusively as a projection of Cobb's guilt. He is haunted by her in every layered dream he enters, to the point that he tries to lock her away in the deepest cell of his subconscious, like a dangerous weapon. If he sees her, he knows he is not awake. No architect can fake the way she makes him feel. Seen that way, the ring becomes a trigger. It reminds him of his wife, pulls his thoughts toward her, and in doing so, it draws her projection closer. If Mal shows up, he's dreaming. If she doesn't, he might be awake. The ring, plus Mal plus his own emotional pain, form a composite totem, more complex than anything you can hold in your hand. Then there is the most painful possibility of all, his children. Throughout the movie, Cobb cannot see their faces in full. He remembers them only in frozen images, versions of them that never age. He walks away before they turn around. He refuses to let his mind complete the picture, because he's terrified that if he does, and finds them unchanged, he'll know he's still trapped in a dream too perfect to escape. In that sense, the children themselves, specifically His ability or inability to confront them become his final test of reality. As long as he cannot look at them, as long as they remain distant and blurred, he is still trapped in guilt and uncertainty. When he finally runs to them in the end, when he embraces them without checking the top, it signals a psychological shift. He has chosen to live in whichever world he's in, dream or not. On top of these emotional totems sits the meta layer. Outside the story, the director has hinted that certain characters only ever appear in scenes that are meant to represent reality. The father-in-law, for instance, arrives in the final scene, which some use as extra-textual evidence that the ending is real. But that information lives outside Cobb's mind. For him, inside the narrative, the only things that truly matter are the tokens of his own grief. The top, the ring, Mal, and the children. Meanwhile, the original professional rule of totems, never let anyone else touch yours, or they can use it against you, has already been broken. Cobb not only handled Mal's top, he altered its meaning, weaponized it against her, and then stole it after her death. On a technical level, that makes it unreliable. On a psychological level, it makes it radioactive. So by the time we reach the final shot, the top is less a precision instrument and more a scar. Whether it spins forever or eventually falls may matter less than why Cobb walks away from it in the first place. In the end, the question, why does the top spin forever, is really two questions disguised as one. On the surface, it is about the mechanics of the movie's rules. Totems are supposed to have subtle, secret properties. Dreams are supposed to follow normal physics unless someone's mind rewrites them. From that angle, a top that never falls in a dream seems to break the internal logic. But beneath that, the spinning top is a mirror held up to the viewer, and to Cobb himself. If you choose to see the top as a literal rule breaker, you might argue that limbo, shared expectation, and obsessive willpower change the way that object works in certain dreams. That Mal and Cobb turned it into a super totem, a paradoxical device that behaves normally in reality and impossibly in their custom-built dream world. That the inconsistency is itself the point. They tampered with the foundations of their own perception until the tool designed to keep them sane became the very thing that drove them apart. If you choose to stick to the original rules, you might believe the forever spin is symbolic, not literal. That what truly matters is not whether the top can defy gravity, but whether the person staring at it trusts their own memory of how it should fall. The detail of the wobble, the length of the spin, the secret weight only they can feel. In that reading, the top does not break the system. Cobb's trauma does. And if you look at Cobb's journey as a whole, the top becomes something else entirely. A Schrödinger's top. As long as we do not see it fall, it exists in both states at once. The world on screen is both dream and reality, both prison and home. For the audience, the ambiguity is an invitation to argue, to theorize, to obsess over frames and props in interviews. For Cobb, the ambiguity is freedom. After a lifetime of tests, of waking in terror, of spinning and spinning and spinning, he finally allows himself to turn away. In the yard, his children play. Their faces are visible. Their voices are real, or at least real enough. The top continues to turn. Whether it falls or not is deliberately something we are never allowed to know. What we are allowed to see clearly, definitively, is a man who has decided that the emotional truth in front of him matters more than a piece of spinning metal. For someone who has spent years drowning in limbo and guilt, that choice may be the only reality that ever truly counts. Now, I want to hear from you. When you watch that final shot, what do you believe is really happening with the top? And why?